We know more about what Nephi's ship was not than we do of what it was, because of this phrase, not after the manner of men. What does that mean? Does that mean that the ships that were built in Egypt, the ships that were built in Greece, the ships that were built in Arabia were not going to be copied?
There's a clear indicator in the language of chapter 17 of 1 Nephi that Nephi received a vision of his boat, of his ship. Naturally, Nephi has the advantage of the Lord's instruction, certainly in overall design, maybe even in building techniques.
What finally took Columbus's ships across the Atlantic was a deep, tall hull. The deep, tall hull had to be built skeleton first. This was not done regularly at the time of Nephi. Is this what Nephi means when he says that he did not build it after the manner of men? The manner of men were building the hull first and then adding the skeleton. Building the skeleton first would have meant that Nephi's ship could have been taller and also deeper into the water. That Nephi, in fact, turned it around and built the skeleton first and then added the hull. This, in fact, would be the innovation. All of the ships that we see in the region during this period have either a single or dual rudder systems that run down the side of the ship near to the stern. The rudder was of huge importance while sailing over open seas, because it was the rudder that would be used to tack the vessel to pick up wind, or in fact to get the vessel out of danger if a squall was to come up all of a sudden. If you did not have good, efficient rudders, the ship would founder. When we look at Nephi's ship, he must have had the dual rudder system. A single rudder would not have been able to control a vessel on the open ocean. Nephi mentions nothing about the sails themselves. He does tell us that he sailed the vessel, but he mentions nothing about these sails. So probably they were not different. They did not have either the curious workmanship or the difference that he prescribes to the vessel itself. Nephi's vessel must have had a large rectangular sail.
There's a small dwarf palm that grows here in these mountains that makes a very fine, excellent cordage. One of the unique features of that particular type of rope is that, unlike other ropes which degrade when exposed to water, the dwarf palm rope actually strengthens and toughens when exposed to water.
Book of Mormon scholars have often talked about how large this ship had to be. Space is a modern luxury. We know that pre-modern peoples did not have the concerns about space that we do. We focus on the idea of time, of speed, of space, luxuries, in fact, to pre-modern peoples. Pre-modern technology was much more utilitarian. And so the notion that you needed to have a large amount of space for a family or a person was simply not the case. I feel that the Nephi ship need not have been longer than 35 or 40 feet.
How long might it have taken? Minimum 2 to 3 years.
We know that Nephi never doubted when the Lord came down and told him to build a naval vessel of this sort. We know, however, that his brothers were full of doubt. Certainly, they recognized that Nephi was not a trained shipbuilder.
At the end of the project, everyone was impressed, including and especially those who resisted helping Nephi early on.
We do know that at the end, that Laman looks at the vessel and goes, wow, that's pretty awesome. You've done a pretty good job. And for a compliment from his brother, that must have been a pretty impressive vessel.